And welcome back, and it is the 11th of April, further maths 5 a day, and let's just jump straight to the first one. The first one is a sketch question. Now a sketch question is quite important because it's asking you to do a couple of things. One, shape, and two, as it actually says in the question, the coordinates of any intersection. And then sometimes it might say something else like turning points or different, but almost always, at the very least, it's the curve shape and where it intersects. So in order to find out where it intersects, I need to find out where this is going to be equal to 0. Now, if you watched any of my videos before, you know my next sentence is going to be, let's try and factorise. And only because I think this one could be quite easy. So I know it's 3x and x, because those are the main factors of 3. Everything's a plus, so that means those should be pluses as well. And I want 5, and 5 is the same as 2 plus 3, so I need one lot of 3, also one lot of 2, and 3 lots of 1, got there eventually, and so therefore that means my crossing points are minus 2/3 and minus 1. Now, by the way, I should also say if x equals 0, that also means that y equals 2. Just write that slightly neater so you can see what I'm saying. So if x equals 0, that also means that y equals 2. Now, tip here, sketch the graph first, and then put the points in afterwards. Otherwise, what you end up doing is trying to squeeze the graph in this, but it's more important you get the shape correct. Nobody cares that your scale isn't brilliant. So therefore, I know this value is 2, and I know it crosses in two places, which are both negative, and they are negative 2/3 and negative 1. I've done what I need to do. I've drawn the right shape, an upward sloping quadratic, happy face. I have shown the coordinates of any points of intersection with 2, minus 2/3 and minus 1. I've answered the question. I'm happy with that. Next question. Although actually, sorry, just stop there a second. It does say clearly show the coordinates. So the question is, should I say minus 1, 0? I might, you know what, I might write them here just for the examiner, just to show. I mean, I think putting them on the graph is fine, but I think I might just cover my back just in case the mark scheme is being particularly ridiculous. Either way, happy I've shown those. Next question. Find where the matrix, this maps onto the point. Oh, sorry, maps the point, not maps onto. That would be back to front. So in other words, I'm basically just doing the transformation matrix 2, 5, 4, 2, minus 5 onto the point 3, minus 2. In other words, I'm just doing some matrices. Well, this is a 2 by 2 and this is a 2 by 1, which means my answer is a 2 by 1. Of course it is, because it's going to be a vector. 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times minus 2 is minus 8, 2 times 3 is 6, and minus 5 times minus 2 is 10, which gives me the final vector. Again, note my words here, is going to be 7 and, that's why you have to be careful, you can read your own writing, 10, 7 and 16. That is not an answer, that's a coordinate. So therefore the point is going to be 7, 16. Do be careful with that, really common error that people make. So this is a vector, this is a coordinate, and therefore that's the answer. Next question. Solve. Right. I was thinking that was a quadratic then, but it's not. Okay, take away 1 from both sides, so that implies that y to the minus a third is equal to 3/5 minus 1 is minus 2/5. Then I'm going to upside down it, or take the reciprocal, which is going to be y to the third is equal to minus 5 over 2. Note the minus stays there. Then I'm going to cube both sides, so therefore y is equal to minus stays, 125 over 8, and that is my final answer. Yeah, happy with that one. Next one. Work out, in other words, get my calculator out. Work out the values of x for between 0 and 360 for which. Okay, that's a nice question. So I've got two choices. I can either do sine or cos. I'm going to convert everything to sine. So 1 minus sine squared x, converted that, minus 3 sine squared x is equal to 0, which means 1 minus 4 sine squared x equals 0. Let's move the 1 to the other side. So that's going to be 1 is equal to 4 sine squared x, or of course sine squared x is equal to a quarter. Now, key to this question is, or the main error that people often make is when you do the square root, you only do a half, but of course the square root is plus minus a half. So in other words, two dot solutions, sine x is equal to a half, or sine x is equal to minus a half. Now, this is why graph sketching is so helpful. I know that sine x looks like this. Again, it doesn't matter about being precise, but I do know that half is about there, so that gives me 2 answers. And minus a half is about here, so that gives me 2 answers. I know from my exact values, so without even getting a calculator out, I know from exact values that sine 30 gives me a half. So in other words, I know this distance here is 30. So the magic number I'm looking for is 30, which is that distance there, and that distance there. So in other words, it's going to be 30, 180 minus 30, which is 150, put degrees. Or this one implies that x is equal to, well, 180 plus 30 is 210, and 360 minus 30 is 330. So I'm using my knowledge of the sine curve to help me work that out quickly. And that's really going to be beneficial, especially if you go on to do A-level maths or further maths, just allowing you, let's write that more neatly, allowing you to quickly work out solutions. Now, another way of doing it is a cast diagram. Nothing wrong with that. I just think that it's more beneficial to know the shapes of the curve quite quickly. Either way, final answer and final answer today, 30 degrees, 150 degrees, 210 and 330 degrees. Today's been relatively straightforward, hasn't it? That last question, it's not a trap, but easy to get it wrong. But either way, let me know how it went for you and do like, subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks all.